Sega.
Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom, or Zoom 909 as it was originally called in Japan, is one of the earliest sprite scaling shoot-'em-ups from Sega. This was actually the very first arcade game I ever saw in real life, and it still looks pretty amazing despite being released in 1982. We'll start by looking at the arcade original running on bespoke Sega VCO object hardware. I'll be using MAME for this. Then we'll compare to the PC booter port from 1984, converted by Sega themselves. I'll be running this using DOSBox. The arcade version was the second game on Sega's VCO object hardware after Turbo. It came in two versions, the sit-down cabinet, as shown here, and an upright unit. The attract mode for the arcade version just shows gameplay with some really poor piloting skills. The game's name appears periodically. The game begins with the mothership enemy flying by before you launch into the first stage, a tunnel sequence similar to Star Wars. Apart from shooting and moving, you can also control the speed of your ship, but if you fly faster, then you tend to just run into enemies quicker, whilst slowing down gets you crashed into from behind. The aim is to destroy the listed number of UFOs at the top of the screen, or on some levels clear gates, before your time runs out. The game consists of 8 sectors which make up each round. They are a tunnel sequence, outer space, pylon gates, some sort of cave with mines, a tunnel with barriers, an asteroid field, a desert planet, and fighting the mothership. The game then goes on and on, throwing mixed up stage designs at you. There's extra content too, like this space minefield. There are some other versions of the game as well, with just 6 sectors per round, including these cool circular gates in space that appeared on the Game Flyer adverts. I assume this is from an earlier version though, as the original Zoom 909 also only had 6 sectors per round, whilst later versions added the pylon gates, which appeared in the home ports of the game. Now, let me play through the game to see how far I get on 1 credit. As the audio is based on sound samples, it's not quite correct, as the tone of your ship rises and falls on the real cabinet as you speed up and slow down. The PC booter port was handled by Sega themselves and was released in 1984. It features 4-colour CGA graphics using the magenta, cyan, black and white colour scheme. The gameplay is massively cut back from the arcade with only 4 sectors per round. You can, however, increase and decrease speed, but as you have limited controls available, flying in an upwards direction also increases speed. Sector 1 sees you flying through the pylon gates with no enemy ships, instead of the Star Wars style tunnel seen in the arcade. Sector 1.1 adds UFOs, whilst Sector 1.2 adds 3-legged bouncing robots. Sector 1.3 is the space stage with the mothership appearing at the end. Destroy that and you move on to a new stage with a different background and different coloured lines on the planet's surface, with extra enemies and hazards to avoid. Okay, now watch me play this version. As I played for quite a long time, I'll cut this video down a bit in order to show more content without getting too boring. Let's compare both versions at the pixel level. The arcade looks amazing, but wipe across to the PC port and it's not quite the same. Let's also compare the mothership. It's huge in the arcade, and also pretty big, but therefore slow in the PC version. The PC version can be killed in one shot if you're lucky, whereas in the arcade you need to destroy its engines first. Let's watch sections head to head. I'll compare the parts that are in both versions of the game: the pylons, space section, and mothership fight. The arcade game was truly amazing and extremely colourful back in 1982. The PC port didn't really do it much justice, but it is strangely playable despite the cutbacks. If you enjoyed this comparison of Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom, give it a like, or subscribe, and I'll see you in space again soon.